smash that like button and that subscribe button so you'll be notified when another amazing episode drops. So this is big 50th episode, and I had so much planned, but then all those plans kept getting postponed, and so it didn't make a show for a while. So I just I just need to do it. I haven't missed out on so many episodes, so much sports news, and so it's let's get this show on the road. So I'm gonna hit a bunch of store. I mean, all the sports news that's happened in the last 2 months. So try to just knock this out. Probably gonna miss a couple of them, but I'll hit the big stories that I usually that I usually hit. Start off with the UFC with Anthony Smith versus Ryan Spann. Anthony Smith was just too much. Showed his experience. Ryan Spann's got a big future, but Anthony Smith was still just too much for him. Was it first round? I think he was. I mean, he was looking good. He dropped him there, and then was just able to finish him. I think it was a rear naked choke. So nice win for Anthony Smith. Other than really Glover Teixeira, which just put a beating on Anthony Smith. Even against John Jones. Anthony Smith. Should look good. It's just that's Glover Teixeira is the only one who really was able to just completely destroy him. So Anthony Smith with the good win. Let's see. Our next UFC was UFC 266, headlined by Alexander Volkanovski and Brian Ortega. And it was a good. I'm not gonna say it was a good fight. It was an exciting fight. It just was. Completely one-sided. Volkanovski, put a beating on Brian Ortega. Ortega proved he's tough. I just got beat on. And he had his moments. Third round was able to grab a tight guillotine choke. And it was Ortega said he heard of Volkanovski gurgling. Volkanovski wouldn't be denied. He just kept fighting. Was able to get out of it. Not long after that, then T-City. The T in the T-City stands for triangle, and he got him in the triangle, was just not able to get him out of there. So, the beating he took, he was still able to get his two best moves on the champ, was unable to get it, was unable to finish the fight. So, you got hats off to Alexander Volkanovski. Just proving why he's the champ. That's the only fight I see that makes sense. Next is Max Holloway. Max Holloway's looked amazing in his last couple fights. The Calvin Kattar fight especially. Just looked amazing. So, that's the fight I want to see. The first two fights were so close. I'd want to watch those guys fight 10 times. But there's I can't see that there. I got to imagine there's going to be a third fight, and I'm picking Max. I just feel like Max his game has progressed more than Volkanovski's has, and Volkanovski he always does enough to win. But I just feel like Max is, I just feel like his game has elevated and progressed a little bit more. But a great win for Alexander Volkanovski. The co-main was Valentina Shevchenko against Lauren Murphy. What can I say? Shevchenko, to me she's the most skilled woman. One of the most skilled fighters, period. And just completely dominated Lauren Murphy. Gets the fourth round finish. What more can you say? There's no reason for her to even be in there with any of these girls anymore, other than Amanda Nunes. That's it. That's the only fight that that's the only fight that makes sense. That's it. That she's completely dominated everyone else. Nunes is about to fight Juliana Pena. Shevchenko tapped her out. She blew through the bantamweight division, has blown through the flyweight division. The only person that's beat her is Amanda Nunes, and they were very close fights. I kind of feel like that Nunes won by by a takedown in the second fight. It's just that close, and Nunes is that much bigger. I mean, she's the featherweight champion too. But I mean, to me, Shevchenko's more skilled of a fighter. But so we'll see. Maybe she takes a little different approach this fight. Trying not to mix it up too much with her. Tries to just and use her technical gifts and able to stay away from her more. But then, so let's see. Our next fight was Nick Diaz against Robbie Lawler. Nick Diaz made his big return. This was a rematch from a fight almost 20 years ago. I mean, this was the fight that put Nick Diaz on the map when he was able to. Robbie Lawler was just a young guy who was knocking everyone out, and Nick Diaz was able to come out and knock him out. So last minute they had to move the fight to a different it was supposed to be at the welterweight division, but then they had to move it up to middleweight. So I mean, you kind of wondered, like, oh shoot, did he hurt? Is he injured? I mean, why is he? I mean, because Nick Diaz is always in shape and stuff. So, but I don't know if it's done. I mean, it was 6 years since he fought. I mean, that's a long time. So, but I mean, he had some moments. He had some moments in the fight. But I mean, it's just, I don't know. Nick just, it wasn't the same anymore. And Robbie Lawler was able to finish in the third round. I mean, he basically, I mean, you don't want to, I mean, Nick Diaz he took a beating. So, I mean, you don't want to say he's a quitter, but I mean, he quit. I mean, he didn't get knocked out. I mean, he did. I mean, it was kind of weird how it all happened. Kind of got dropped, and then like the ref asked him, was he all right? And I mean, he didn't want to. The ref asked him, did he want to keep going, and he didn't. So it is what it is. But as an all right win for Robbie Lawler. Maybe Nick Diaz, maybe this was just, he was saying it was just last minute for him. I think I remember this fight coming up for like 6 weeks, so maybe he needs more time. I wouldn't mind seeing a third fight of it if they're going to tell me that. I mean, because I don't know that I want to see Robbie Lawler necessarily fighting anybody else other than old people either, because he's not really going to, I mean, he's kind of done at this point. I mean, but you always want to, I mean, it's Robbie Lawler. I mean, he brings it, but he's just not, he's not in the upper echelon of the division anymore. But, so, good win for Robbie. Let's see, next it was Fight Night, Thiago Santos against Johnny Walker. Thiago, it was kind of lackluster, but Thiago was able to pull out the victory. All that hoopla was behind Johnny Walker there for a little while, and it's kind of gotten stale a little bit, so we'll see if he's able to bring his career back. But nice win for Thiago Santos. Next, it was Mackenzie Dern against Marina Rodriguez. Rodriguez with the nice victory, was just too much better on the stand-up. Mackenzie wasn't able to get her down and implement her grappling, and so Rodriguez just with the nice win. We'll see. We'll see what they give to her next. Let's see. Next fight was Aspen Ladd, Norma Dumont, the next headliner of a card. And even Dana White afterwards. But you're going. When you're trying to have a UFC card every single weekend, you're gonna have some of these headliners like that. And Norma Dumont with the very lackluster win. Then the next UFC fight night was Paulo Costa against Marvin Vettori. This was supposed to, show who's still one of the best at middleweight. But then about a week before the fight, Vettori started saying he needed to be a catch weight. And then by the time of the fight, it wound up all the way at light heavyweight. So Dana White said that he's not going to even let him fight at middleweight anymore. But so Vettori had come out and just was able to be one step ahead of Paulo Costa the whole night and pulled out a nice victory. It was a decent fight, but so light heavyweight. But they're I mean, so we'll see. Maybe, who knows? Maybe this Paulo Costa has been depleting himself too much. I don't know. So we'll see. Then let's see. The next big card was UFC 267, headlined for the light heavyweight title belt. Jan Blachowicz against Glover Teixeira. Glover Teixeira finally, this might have been his last chance. I mean, he'd had the title shot some years back against John Jones, but like everyone else, got dominated. And so this might have been the final curtain call for Glover. So, and he was able to bring it home. I mean, he was able to bring it home. I felt like he might be able to do it. He just, I mean, he's just a little bit better everywhere than Jan Blachowicz. And I mean, on paper, theoretically, Blachowicz, it seems like he has more one-punch knockout power, but it's like, I don't know, it's like he has better one-punch knockout power, but at the same time, like, every individual punch lands harder, or every shot lands harder for Glover to me. And so he was just able to piece him up, and then was able to get the tap out in the second round. I mean, it seemed like Blachowicz even tapped out kind of fast, like he almost wanted to get out of there. But that was a nice win for the I think he's 40-41. Glover Teixeira, I mean, finally getting that title. The co-main event was Peter Yan against Corey Sandhagen for the bantamweight interim title, and Peter Yan just, I mean, it was the belt's rightfully his anyway. I mean, Aljamain Sterling got the real belt from him. I mean, clearly you gotta have rules like that. I just don't think you should be able to win the title by disqualification. I mean, Peter Yan should have clearly seen that Aljamain was down, and he landed a strike, but you shouldn't be able to win the title like that. And then this has been a while now, and they still haven't made this fight yet. So, I mean, Aljamain had gotten hurt, so this was for the interim title. And Peter Yan was just, I mean, he just proved why he's the best of the division. Sandhagen's good. Sandhagen was right there, but Peter Yan is just better, got some of the best boxing in the UFC. Just amazing fighter. Love watching him fight. So, he's the interim bantamweight title, and so sets up again for the rematch with him and Aljamain Sterling. So I guess if Aljamain can stay healthy enough, and I mean, you should feel embarrassed even claiming that belt. Like, it's like, because if you'll remember, like he made like a big show in the ring, like, oh, I don't want that belt, but then it was like the next week he was like strutting around and stuff. So just a horrible way to win the belt. But so hopefully we'll see that big rematch. Let's see. Another big fight on that card was a lightweight fight with Islam Makhachev against Dan Hooker, and Makhachev just came out, dominated him. First round submission. I mean, looks like a Khabib clone. I mean, I feel like he's not as strong. I mean, it's definitely, I mean, might be a little more technical, just maybe not as strong, and got a little better striking. We'll see. I mean, you can't tell me he's not going to be champ at some point. You cannot tell me that. Look forward to seeing that. The other big fight on that card was Khamzat Chimaev against Li Jingliang, and I mean, Khamzat just Jingliang was landed one punch on him. I mean, I think that's the only punch that anyone's landed, or maybe didn't even land a punch on him, actually. I think there's only been one punch landed on him in 4 fights. I mean, he's got more wins, Khamzat, than fights right now. So, I mean, I assume that the next, because Jorge Masvidal fell out against Leon Edwards, so Leon Edwards should be the next, the wait for the title. But Khamzat, I mean, give him one more fight. And I mean, I feel like he'd be after that in line. I mean, guy looks amazing. And then this was at welterweight. I mean, it looked amazing, but he's looked amazing at middleweight too. I mean, this might be somebody, I don't know that there hasn't been Yeah, there hasn't been a co. Yeah, no one's held the welterweight and the middleweight belt. We've had Daniel Cormier, who had the light heavyweight and the heavyweight. And that's like light heavyweights are just heavyweights who don't cut weight. So okay, I can see that. And then we had Conor McGregor, who had the featherweight and the lightweight, and that's a 10 pound difference. So and then even was it Henry Cejudo had the flyweight and the bantamweight, and that's another 10 pound difference, which is 10 pounds is a lot at that low weight. But so this is a 15 pound difference right here. Or yeah, I guess Randy Couture, while he didn't have it at the same time, he had lightweight and heavyweight. But so I mean, just he's looked so dominating. I mean, I'm ready to. I mean, I would rather see him than Leon Edwards fight for the belt. But I mean, you got to. I mean, Leon Edwards has. I mean, he deserves it. I mean, he deserves it. Just Hamzat has looked just so much. I mean, Hamzat has. I mean, been the most I don't think anyone started off a career as dominant as this. I mean, Conor McGregor started off his career. All right, I guess he had. I guess he did have a decision with Max Holloway within his first four fights. But Hamzat, I mean, I don't know. I don't know any question. This is the most dominating first four fights of anyone's career. And this was after coming back after a long layoff. Because if you'll remember, he had three fights really quickly. And then even I think he had the fastest turnaround. He fought. He had 2 wins in 10 days, but then he'd gotten COVID and had that really bad. But since then he's just. I mean, or not since then, but this was the return, and he just looked. I mean, it looked amazing. So look forward to seeing that. So then let's see what the next UFC card was. UFC 268. Kamaru Usman against Colby Covington. I mean, this is the fight everyone wanted to see. Everyone wanted to see it just because, I mean, Usman's been looking amazing. I mean, Covington's been looking amazing, but it's just all the nonsense Covington talks. I mean, it's so cringe. He's so bad at it. And but it's like, I don't know if, like, with McGregor, you kind of just believed it a little more because that's how he always was. But we saw Colby Covington. I mean, Bobby Lashley said he told him to start doing pro wrestling gimmicks and stuff. So I mean, it's kind of cringe. But even if you don't respect Colby Covington as a man, which you really shouldn't, but I mean, you got to respect him as a fighter. Dude looked amazing. But Kamaru Usman was just a little too much, and was able to get the unanimous decision. Kamaru Usman has looked amazing. It's just. I mean, as he's on pace to go down as the greatest welterweight of all time. I mean, he might already be. I mean, not record-wise, he isn't. I think GSP had defended the belt more times, and I mean, we can't forget GSP was dominant when he was the champ. But if they fought, I mean, Usman would win. But I mean, we almost can't even do that anymore, just because it's. I mean, MMA is just evolving so much faster than any other sport. You can't even really compare champions anymore. I mean, Matt Hughes, as amazing as he was back then, wouldn't even, I don't know that he'd be top 20 in the UFC right now. I mean, not just because he's old and crippled, but I mean, the guy, even at Matt Hughes' peak, he couldn't be top 20 in the UFC. Maybe I'm disrespecting him. Definitely not top 10. Man, there's some killers. What you think? I mean, Hamzat, Usman, Colby Covington, Hamzat, Leon Edwards. I mean, Jorge Masvidal. I mean, Robbie Lawler. I mean, Robbie Lawler would knock Matt Hughes. I mean, yeah, no. I mean, so it is what it is. The sport evolves fast, and so it's kind of hard to compare eras. But Usman is definitely on his way to being the best welterweight of all time. We'll see what happens. Our co-main event was a rematch with Rose Namajunas against Zhang Weili, and Weili looks so amazing, and then the first time they fought, Rose had knocked her out, and it was like, oh my God! But it was like a head kick, and it was early, and it was like, oh, okay, that's probably by luck. And Weili has been training with Henry Cejudo. And she even, I mean, well, I don't know what her game plan was gonna be, but I mean, she definitely added some wrestling and looked good. But Rose, you gotta respect her. I mean, just amazing. I mean, first she had beaten what was it Joanna Jędrzejczyk, when Joanna was looking unbeatable. And Rose was able to knock her out, and then was able to knock her out quick, the same way she did to Weili, and then in the rematch, just able to prove that if there was any question if it was luck or not, there shouldn't be, because she was able to win a 5-round decision. So I mean, we gotta say, I mean, Rose Namajunas, the best strawweight of all time at this point. It's still not that old a division, but I mean, as it stands right now, best strawweight of all time. Let's see, other big fight on that card was Frankie Edgar against Marlon Vera. Frankie was winning most of the fight, and then in the third round, Marlon Vera was able to land a front kick to the face, and I mean, made Frankie look like a Muppet. I mean, it's completely, I mean, it was a nasty shot. Nice win for Marlon Vera. They decided to open up the main card with Justin Gaethje against Michael Chandler, and the fight was everything we thought it would be. I mean, they were just killing each other, just back and forth. Gaethje was just a little better, and I mean, he had Chandler almost out of there. I mean, Chandler had him hurt early, but Gaethje, I mean, definitely a nice win for Gaethje. Definitely, we got to see. He should have a title shot pretty soon enough. Definitely has definitely proven that he deserves the belt. He was dominated, or it deserves a shot at the belt. I mean, the first time he got a shot at the belt against Khabib, Khabib completely dominated him. Shows how he wanted to finish him. I guess he'd said he didn't want to break his arm in front of his family, so he decided to just tap him out and put him to sleep. But I mean, that was a completely different animal. I mean, whoever the champ is now, whether it's Charles Oliveira, who, I mean, the dude's a monster, but he's no Khabib, and then Dustin Poirier, who, I mean, he's no Khabib either. And even though, I mean, that would be a rematch. So definitely can't wait to see who Gaethje's able to get in there with next. Let's see, our next fight night was Max Holloway against Yair Rodriguez. That was just such an amazing back and forth fight, but Max Holloway just too much, setting up the Max Holloway Alexander Volkanovski fight like I talked about before. I mean, that's the only fight that makes sense. Then let's see, our next fight night was Miesha Tate making after she'd come back and had a nice finish in her first fight back, but just was able to. Caitlin Vieira was just too much for her with the 5-round unanimous decision. I mean, so yeah, that's we'll see what they do with Caitlin Vieira from here, and what Miesha Tate decides to do. Maybe she can. She had mentioned another Ronda Rousey rematch, but I mean, maybe Rousey will come back for that fight. That's a fight I assume she probably can still win, but I mean, maybe not. Maybe she can. I mean, who knows? Maybe, I mean, she probably needs to just stay, because she's got a kid now. Probably don't want to do like Chuck Liddell did with Tito, just keep fighting him until you lose. I mean, God, that was so awful when he came back, and that was just I mean, he looked horrible. That's the worst I've ever seen an ex-fighter look. But So yeah, that's our UFC action. Let's see our in the NFL. We've had we've had so much action going on, like as it is right now. The playoff standings. If the playoffs start today, it'd be Tennessee, Baltimore, New England, and Kansas City as the division winners. And the wild cards being Cincinnati, the Chargers, and Buffalo. In the AFC, and in the NFC, it'd be Arizona, Green Bay, Tampa, and Dallas, the division winners, and be the Rams, the Vikings, and the Saints as the NFC wild card. See Odell Beckham went to the Rams. Von Miller went to the Rams. So the Rams are going for it. They're still a wild card team as it is right now. So we'll see. We'll see. Because if they don't win it with this team, they don't have any picks for a while. So they went all in. My Jags. Oh my God, they've looked horrible. Lions looked horrible. Trevor Lawrence has looked horrible. You can't hate him because it's they're hard. Their line has looked horrible. The receivers haven't been any good. James Robinson's played. I guess he's played all right, but it's pretty depressing how they've played. You'd hoped for a little more. They've just been bad. And let's see, who else? Derrick Henry. I guess he got hurt. So that's our NFL action, NBA action. So far, it's still early in the season, but as it stands right now, in the Eastern Conference, the Nets are in first, followed by the Bulls and the Heat. The Bulls have looked pretty good, put together a pretty good squad. And then in the West, it's been the Warriors, Suns, and Jazz. And the Warriors looked amazing lately. They still haven't even gotten Klay Thompson back yet, and James Wiseman. So I don't even. As it goes, they've been looking. They're the best team in the NBA right now. Steph Curry playing at MVP level, and they don't have to. If Klay comes back at 80% of what he was, and James Wiseman comes back, he kind of needs to come back at better than 80% of what he was. But if Klay, this team might be right back up there in title contention. So that's pretty impressive. Nobody expected this from them. This quick. I think a lot of people wrote them off and just assumed the dynasty was over. I kind of did. Yeah, they've been able to. Their management has been able to keep them right in the thick of things. Even with Kevin Durant leaving and everything. So that's pretty impressive. Let's see. In boxing news, we just had the big Sean Porter Terrence Crawford fight. Terrence Crawford was able to knock him out in the 10th round. It was a nice back and forth fight up until probably about the 6th round, and then Crawford was just able to start landing some better shots and was able to stop Sean Porter, and actually, he knocked him down twice, and then Sean Porter's dad stopped it, and so he retired after the fight. So decent career for Sean Porter, but just another nice victory for Terrence Crawford. The fight everyone wants to see is him and Errol Spence. That's the fight everyone wants to see. Errol Spence was even there, and he got up with a face of disgust afterwards, and it's that's the fight we want to see. Hopefully he'll be back. It's Crawford just so nasty. So let's see. Then what? The last fight, was Caleb Plant. Canelo just, showed why he is the best in the world. Caleb Plant was looking good. At no point, I mean, at no point was Plant really hurt until he was. But I mean, he never really. I mean, even though if we'd have had unbiased judging, possibly he might have had the argument for why he could have been ahead on the scorecards. We knew there is no such thing as an unbiased judging in a Canelo fight. So I mean, it is what it is. I mean, we knew you kind of have to. You're gonna have to. Someone's gonna have to knock out Canelo to lose the belt. I mean, so it is. But I mean, Canelo was able to land some very nice shots and and was able to win the title unify all the belts. And so the first middleweight to be able to do that. I mean, since they've had this many belts. What was the other? See, was the other big fight? Let's see. Shakur Stevenson had a nice victory. Okay. So the other big fight was Deontay Wilder against Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury is. I mean, what can you say? He came out and it was a good fight, but Tyson Fury he dominated the fight. I mean, I'm not gonna say he's the best. I don't know that. I mean, we're not in an era where he's gonna have the ability to ever prove that he's the best heavyweight of all time. But stylistically speaking, I don't know that there's ever been a heavyweight who could beat. I mean, it's boxing, so anything can happen. But on a percentage basis, I think he'd be favored almost over. At 6'9", with the way he's able to move. I mean, yeah, I think Muhammad Ali was better, but he was 6'2", 220 pounds at most. I mean, we're talking about 6'9", 270. I mean, I mean, Wilder tried to put on some weight and so we could bulk up some to be big enough, but it's not like he wasn't. I mean, because he dropped him twice in the first fight, and then he dropped him twice in this fight, and it was like, oh my God, he might have him, or maybe it was just once. But it was out of nowhere, and it was lands a nice shot, but it was. I mean, Tyson Fury just was. I mean, it just beat. God, I mean, from like the third round on, it just looked like. I mean, Wilder proved the guy is tough. He is tough. If he could just learn to box, just even rudimentary, I mean, it's like he almost try. I mean, it's like he's trying not to it seems like you should almost accidentally learn how to box if you've been boxing that long. But when you got that power, when you can always rely on something, I guess it just makes it that you don't learn how to do what the name of the sport is. You needs to go start doing some bare knuckle or something. I mean, I don't know. That's just I just don't see how he comes back. And I don't know if there's ever any reason to ever do a Tyson Fury fight again. I mean, even if Wilder were to just keep knocking everyone out. Because, I mean, the way Tyson Fury has just completely dominated. Like, the first fight, Tyson Fury probably won. I mean, he did win. I mean, Deontay Wilder just was able to drop him a couple times. And so it made it seem like he was in that fight. And, I mean, he really didn't. It shouldn't have been a draw. And so then the second fight, I mean, completely gets dominated. Fucking gets finished in the 6th round. Then there's all these stories and reasons why he lost. And so then... I mean, now this fight, I mean, so I don't know that I don't see how he's going to be able to come back. And you're always going to want to see him fight people. I mean, just because he's got that knockout power, Wilder, but I don't think he's going to be able to win the title back. So Tyson Fury, probably I guess he's going to have to fight Alexander Usyk, who had defeated Anthony Joshua. That was proving that Usyk is great boxer, but he's just going to be too small. They're going to rematch Joshua and Usyk because there's an immediate rematch clause, but I'm pretty sure Usyk's going to be able to do the same thing that he did in that fight and just outbox him. but he's going to be too small. I mean, I think he's probably a better boxer than Tyson Fury, but he's a normal sized guy. I mean, he's not normal, but he's like 6'1" or 6'2". Yeah, I mean, he was at cruiserweight. There's no way. I mean, Steve Cunningham, who had dropped Tyson Fury earlier in his career, was an ex-cruiserweight, but it's just different. The guy is just so big and is able to move. So I don't know. I don't see anyone beating him for a while. See, other big boxing news is that Canelo's talking about moving up to cruiserweight and trying to win a fifth belt from Ilunga Makabu. I haven't seen this guy fight, but he's got cruiserweight power. He's been knocked out a couple times or a few times. But, Canelo, he's not fighting Beterbiev at light heavyweight. So, he's being cautious with who he picks. But we'll see. Moving up 2 weight classes like that, that's, you can't really question him anymore about his heart. Or him ducking people. They've been saying he's been ducking Boo Boo Andrade for a while now. But, that's a middleweight. So, Canelo's never going back down to middleweight. After he moves up to cruiserweight, it's probably going to be hard for him to get back down to super middleweight. So I kind of feel like maybe he's moving up to get the belt at cruiserweight and then going to start getting belts at light heavyweight. He got the one already against Kovalev. Can't even remember if he relinquished that belt or not, but that might be a tough fight for him, the Beterbiev fight. But, so Canelo doing big things. Let's see, the baseball season came and went. The Braves were the World Series champs at the end. I think it was their first title. That was pretty impressive. They didn't even win 90 games. There were teams who had a lot better regular seasons. So they were able to. That was impressive how they were able to pull it out and start looking good when it counted. And so then the end of year awards. Let's see. Jonathan India won Rookie of the Year in the National League. Randy Rosarina won Rookie of the Year in the American League. And most of you probably didn't even realize that Rosarina was a rookie. But it's the way baseball does it. It's a certain amount of games. And because he'd won the American League Championship Series MVP last year. I'm pretty sure he set a record for playoff home runs by anybody. So to do that before he was even necessarily considered a rookie was pretty amazing. Let's see, Gabe Kapler won NL Manager of the Year. Kevin Cash repeated as AL Manager of the Year. Let's see what else. Let's see, the Cy Young Award. Robbie Ray was the American League Cy Young Award, and Corbin Burns was the National League Cy Young Award winner. Let's see, the National League MVP was Bryce Harper. In the American League, no question, unanimous winner, Shohei Ohtani. I've been saying it since before the All-Star break that just what he was able to do, not only batting but pitching. Able to do. Then not even just batting and pitching. He was there's only been 6 people who've ever done 45 homers and 25 stolen bases in a season, and Ohtani did that. Had a 9-2 record, over 150 strikeouts. The guy had such the best season in the modern era. Any era. Had the best season in baseball history. Arguably the best season in baseball history. I'd be willing to. You can. Barry Bonds, the 73 homers. Aided. By whatever he was using, and even let him use whatever he used. We're not even going to talk about that. But is 73 wins or 73 homers more impressive then 48 homers, 25 stolen bases, and a 9-2 record. He started for the American League as pitcher. Not that he was the best pitcher in the American League, but he was definitely a really good pitcher. I mean, he led the majors in wins against replacement average. So just I had an amazing season. To me, was the best in baseball history. But so yeah, we'll see how long he's able, what kind of career he's able to have. Anything else? Let's see. Clarissa Shields, she lost in her second MMA fight. She'd won her boxing, but then she lost in the second MMA fight. She just got out grappled. I mean, the first fight she was losing, but it was able to knock the girl out. I haven't been impressed. I don't know. I assumed. I mean, she's still young. I don't know. I assumed that she was going to be come along faster. I don't know. I mean, it's not easy. MMA is not easy. As anyone who's ever trained, it is not easy. But I just expected a high-level athlete like her that she was going to be able to come along better. She's training out of Jackson Winklejohn. Just expected better from her. But, I mean, it's MMA, so if she's able to lose and it's not the end of the world, we'll see. And Kayla Harrison was able to win her second PFL title. Now she's her tournament victory. So now she's a free agent. We'll see if she signs with the UFC. I mean, she fights at 155, so she's going to have to move down to featherweight. And the UFC barely even has a featherweight anymore. I mean, it's Amanda Nunes, but they're actually teammates. So I don't even know if they're going to fight. So we'll see. I mean, maybe she should just stay at PFL and keep winning $1 million every year. I mean, would she? I mean, if she goes to the UFC, is she really, even if she beats Amanda Nunes, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's probably there's. I mean, it's more prestigious, the UFC, so it is what it is. But so yeah, that's all the sports action. Tried to catch up on as much as we could. Gonna try to come to you a little bit more often, and we'll see. So make sure you join us at let's see. You can find me on Big Scary on Twitter. Big Scary Cox, I think, on Twitter, on Instagram, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Find us on Trauma Television on Facebook, because this is a Trauma Television production, and Trauma Television on YouTube. And as Martin Luther King said, the arc will be more